Hello, everybody, and welcome to LangTime Chat, episode 61. This is the beginning of something brand new. We are going to, well, I guess to back up a little bit, we have a Patreon. By we, I mean me, David, and Jesse over there. You can say hi.
Hey.
There's Jesse. And we had said if we ever hit 65 members, we were going to start doing Conlang reviews for patrons. We've updated that a little bit. And so, first of all, we hit it. And so we're starting,
Yay.
but we're doing three different types of Conlang reviews. One is just kind of show and tell so that we can just spotlight patrons' Conlangs. Another is reviewing some specific portion of the conlang, and then the other is working on something together. So to start things off, we were going to do a show and tell with perhaps, maybe this is controversial, but perhaps the most famous language from all of our entire patronage. And it's probably even more famous
That's
than the
not true.
LangTime
People
languages.
already is one of your patrons now.
Uh,
That is true.
It is true. It is true. But I would say Biblaridian is more famous than any of his conlangs.
I feel, well, that is also true, but I feel though that we can safely say this one has the most infamous story behind it.
That's true.
And so, it's well known for also having a bit of a sad tale.
Yeah.
Not because the language itself, but because David or Jake.
Yeah, we were kind of racing the cart past the horse fell, so to speak. So let us introduce the co-host and co-creator of Let's Have a Booba, Jake Penny.
Yay.
Hello, everyone.
All right. Everybody knows Jake because Jake is perhaps, I mean, I haven't looked at the stats recently, but I still think that Jake tops out as our funniest patron, like by at least 4.3%.
I feel Patrick and
Bubba
Bubba.
Mateus.
Patrick, Bubba, Mateus, they're all in the background going,
Mateus has quality, but then when it comes to quantity, it's severely lacking. What can I say?
I shoot every shot I get. Like, that's what I'll say. I don't think I hit every time, but when I do hit, I think I do well.
That's right.
When you do hit, it slaps.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jake, do you want to just do a quick little intro to the language, and we can hit on why I say it's a bit infamous?
Sure. So, Pánkáshku was the language that I created for Sony's Madam Web. I got paid. I got to speak to one of the actors. I thought it was all fine, and I show up on it's actually Valentine's Day. I go to the cinema.
That's
Turns
right.
out they didn't use it. It could have been maybe one of the most seen conlangs of the patronage. And now it is, and I will say in quite a thoroughly reworked state. Probably the conlang I'm most proud of. But that was like with a whole bunch of revisions made when I used it in the YouTube relay, actually. Now I come to think about it.
Nice.
I think. Yeah.
And I do want to say hats off to Jake, because for anybody who has created a language and then moved on and worked on others, and I know that Jake, you had worked on other languages after kind of setting Pánkáshku aside, it can be really hard to return to a project and get into that mindset, and then get into that mindset enough that you make the changes that will make it stronger. And so major hats off to you, because that is a process to go through. It's like a whole set of mental hoops you have to jump through. And I have definitely loved watching some of the developments that you have done. Every time you talk about it and I learn something new about the language, I'm just like, this is so freaking cool. So I'm glad that we're talking about it today.
I think one thing to bear in mind is that like I made it specifically for the purpose of the film to begin with.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect anyone to have to translate out of it. And so there was a lot more variation in how things turned out. And I think Lexigy can give you like a false sense of um, what your language should look like at the end. Not everything is applied in the same way all the time, even if the idea of grammatical sound changes doesn't really make sense. It, so I can get more into it, but I um, yeah, probably worth noting a few things before we talk about comparison. So the language was designed specifically to kind of evoke Amazonian languages, but without taking anything directly from any of them. So one of the other patrons who goes by Nat or Rooftop Octopus said at one point, I'm still never entirely sure if this is fully a compliment or not, but basically that Pánkáshku was a kind of uncanny valley Amazonian language. if you know what Amazonian languages are like, it sort of seems like a lot of them, but without really being any individual one, which I think for me meant I had done my job well and I
Yes.
had achieved my goal.
Yeah, and I have to say the first time that I saw this Madam Web script, what I said and what I told them, in fact, was this should probably be a natural language, and that was the whole reason that I sent them to Jake because I thought Jake could do it. And when they insisted that it be a conlang, I think basically you did the exact thing that was required and did it to a T.
Yeah, so one of the suggestions from David was that this should be in Quechua. So I studied Cusco Quechua with a university in Peru during COVID. So actually around the same time as when I was joining LangTime Studios. So
That's right.
David and Jesse got the full experience of me introducing myself in Quechua in the comments of the streams
Oh
and
gosh,
saying, "Oh, that's
about
a really
that.
nice sounding conlang," and I had to say, "Oh, actually, it's Aymara," and
God, that's amazing.
so uh, I think, and there's also the whole history of was it Hatis actually being Quechua? So Quechua is a language that like lends itself to conlang-esqueness for some good and some bad reasons. It's one of the most regular languages I've ever encountered. Not in the sense of being normal, but in the sense of everything is like has a one form and very rarely changes.
That's pretty
Um,
cool.
um, and yeah, I'll get started on what we actually, what I actually wanted to talk about.
Right
So,
on.
um, I think, oh, I'm actually in the stream version of the actual book. Here we go. I'll actually start with this picture. So, Jesse, and was it a podcast episode that you shared about comparison?
No, so there was something I had written up on Patreon way back in season one for Ingala when we were talking about like, you know, how we were going to handle comparisons in the language. But this actually came from the textbook that I wrote. So, like, this is all developed for the textbook, and then I shared the image in Discord because I was just like, look at this turtle and mouse.
Yeah. And by the way, this is for those that are just listening right now. This is an image of a turtle and a mouse that Jesse drew in order to show comparison, so that the mouse was smaller than the turtle. And it's honestly, it's one of the best illustrations I've ever seen in the entirety of my life. Just, I can't even describe how much joy looking at the mouse tail brings me. It's so perfect. Anyway, so yeah, that's what you would be looking at if you were looking at the video. So
Um,
Jake, go on.
So the purpose of the image is to set out the kind of three main parts of a comparison. So it defines like the quality, the topic, and the standard. Um, and it's very useful to have like one set of definitions because basically in the literature apparently they use so many different words for these
Mm-hmm.
things, and I thought having seen this image I would use it as I was developing the comparison model for Pánkáshku for the Let's Have a Relay, which is a bit of a spoiler I guess, but everyone here already knows what's in it. And by the point in time that this comes out, I think whatever was in the Pánkáshku text is a memory for people uh, who are aware of it in January.
Right, yes.
Um, um, so more on that in time. So my my section basically takes this example, and so one of the confusing things is I shouldn't scroll too much.
You're all right,
The
but
term,
this is good. Be sure to say them aloud so everybody can hear them.
yeah.
Yeah.
So um, the topic of comparison is a little bit of a confusing one talking about Pánkáshku because Pánkáshku has both topic marking um, a feature. I don't know what the correct or right word is. It's not to the same extent as, for example, a language like Japanese or Korean,
Okay.
in which topic, subject, object is the principal way in which kind of core arguments are marked. I'm never sure if it's marking or indexing or flagging after that distinction got mixed up. So, like in Japanese, the classic example would be like "watashi wa Jake desu." So it's like "watashi" is I, "wa" is the topic marker, and then "Jake desu" is I'm Jake, and it's like regarding myself, I am Jake. But then you would carry on, and you wouldn't reintroduce the topic. And in a number of languages, like Japanese, like Quechua, like many languages on the uh, eastern side of the Andes. The Andes runs from Colombia down through Ecuador, Peru, into Bolivia, and then forms the border between Chile and Argentina. And the languages of the region, so the Amazon basin, it covers a wide part of the tropical area of South America, and it goes all the way up to the tree line of the Andes. And so there are a number of Amazonian languages that have clear influence in their structure from Quechua. Some of this is, we think, older, and by we I mean within Amazonian linguistics. There's no real area of the Amazon that can be considered a true linguistic area, is one thing I always try and point out, because as soon as people start talking about Amazonian languages, it's important to recognize it's purely a geographical designation. There isn't any one feature, be it phonological or grammatical, or even you could argue there are cultural features that are shared. And certainly there are plenty of, I don't know how I would say it. I've only ever written like Wonderwörter, like wonder words.
Yeah. I feel like I would lean into the Wonderwörter pronunciation just because it's.
I don't know what the plural in German is.
No, isn't that plural? Wonderwörter?
Wörter is plural.
Yeah, because the singular would be Wanderwort.
Wort, yeah.
Wort. Okay. Those things. Like there are things that you can trace, and there are language families that are very big. But there are also like many language isolates that often display quite unique features, simply because many language isolates, not being related to large language families, have these specific, quite interesting features by nature of there not being many related languages, which obviously then limits how common these features end up being. One of these is Tikunu, which I actually went through information of about 30 different languages from 20 different language families that are all spoken in the Peruvian Amazon to research for Pánkáshku.
My goodness.
Nice.
This is the kind of work that goes into conlinking for a movie or television show. And indeed, sometimes the payout is you get nothing from it. Well, okay, no. You got paid, which was great. I mean, but that was going to happen. But like, it's like I have to say it was further disappointing to me because it's not like this has never happened before, but like the biggest time where it had happened in my history was when I arranged the job for Noah, the movie, and Bill Weldon created a language for that. But the thing is, when they cut those languages, the producer that I had been working with and negotiated with, he came directly to me after they made the decision and said, "Hey, this is what has happened. Bill did fantastic work. We were really happy with it. But after looking at the movie, we decided it didn't make sense in the context of the movie, and so we had to cut it." Like, that's really the bare minimum of, I think, professional courtesy. What happened with Madam Web was really disappointing, and I would hope would be atypical. At least in my experience, it's atypical.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after that little tangent,
Sorry.
This example that I did based on the image, because I started writing this section without Jesse's blessing for using the image, so I think I went with some other ideas, and so in order to encapsulate the general idea from the mouse turtle picture, the titin na piro matus, so titi is mouse, and then in the topic maka mu the teaching with a long vowel, and then napido. This obviously so napido for those who are listening is romanized NAP apostrophe IQRO. It should be a P followed by a glottal stop. There aren't phonemic adjectives in Pánkáshku, but there are coda stops. So it's I think I never really decided what the quality of the coda stops was. But anyway, so
I'm sorry, can I pause for just a second and try to understand what's going on here? So this is what you're suggesting is that there is a syllable boundary here? And it's napiro?
Napido.
Okay. Why not make it two different words?
Because this is with a... Oh, no, the syllable boundary, napi is the word for turtle, and ro is the case marker.
So are you saying that this should be syllabified NAP? NAP is one syllable, then I is the next syllable?
Napido.
Is the P ejective, or is the apostrophe a glottal stop?
The apostrophe is a glottal stop.
So it's a consonant situation. Not
yeah.
I was going to say I wasn't hearing an ejective P, so I was like confused why David was asking what he was asking.
and I thought that you were suggesting that this just defies the basic convention of syllabification.
No, I was saying that because it looks like how many people would romanize an ejective.
Right. No, it's just a glottal stop. Napido. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Understood. Thank you.
The weirdest thing, I guess, the thing I really wanted an unrounded back vowel, because to me that's like the unrounded high non-front vowels are the things that sound really Amazonian. And I was like, if I don't want to use a barred I or some kind of like accented, obviously I've got accents for tone, but some kind of augmented vowel sign, I was gonna have to just make U an unrounded vowel. I know my sound quality still isn't great. It was even worse at the time that I was doing the recordings. And I have this deep concern that the sound quality was so bad that the actor couldn't hear the vowel properly. And I tried my hardest to like explain how to produce. But anyway, so matus, ma is small, and tus is the copula plus third person marking. So as we carry on, you'll see naping sasak vitus. This tus thing is going to be a common occurrence.
Okay.
And so that one is the turtle is bigger, period. Like not bigger than something, just bigger.
Yeah. Let me just review here. So we have the top. Oh, by the way, is this? I'm assuming acute accent is tone, right?
Yeah.
So we have teaching napiro matus. I'm sorry. Teaching napira matis. Yep. With the unrounded
Napiro.
vowels.
The
And
R is round.
the O is round. Oh, I thought the O was
Yes.
unround too. Uh, be,
No.
no, okay, sorry. Uh, teaching napiro matis. That was the roundedest O ever.
I was gonna say
But
David really held out that.
But
Ooh.
okay, so
there's no contrast, right?
yeah,
So if
true.
I designed the language hoping that no matter how the actors pronounced it, at least it would kind of make sense.
That's a smart move. But specifically morphologically, teaching is I'm sorry, teaching is mouse. That is the topic. Then we have
Mhm.
napiro is than the turtle. Napi is turtle, and then so napiro is than the turtle, and then mat
Mhm.
is small. So basically, you have is regarding the mouse uh, with respect to the turtle, it is
Mhm.
small. And so the next one we have napinga, which is turtle with that same topic marker. So you have regarding the turtle, sasak. I'm sorry, sasak, more or most. And then we have vitas. It is big. And so the first one we have a standard of comparison. So the mouse is being compared to something, and so it's the mouse regarding this, it's small, meaning that it's smaller than this. For the second one, there is no standard of comparison. There's this word that is essentially translated as sasak as more or most. And so regarding the turtle, it's bigness, and then it's more most. So that's what we've got so far.
And there's a similar negative one, which is nipnu. So rapong and nipnu mean this, which is the iguana is less sad, or the least sad.
And that's generally, I think that's generally true of iguanas. Can you please pronounce this less least word for me?
Napnu.
Is that second A a different quality than the
Yeah,
first
those
one?
are two radically different vowels.
In my head, they are
Oh,
nap na nap no nap. I
Okay.
think it's because of the coda consonant. Am I reducing the first one?
second one.
Oh,
It
it's
sounds
also like the first A has high tones, so it's more prominent.
Nap na.
Nap na.
There,
Yeah.
there we go. Okay.
nice. Okay,
So
and then
so basically, napna is the kind of like negative version of sasak,
Hmm.
which, by the way, bless you for this, because I did something very similar for Dothraki, and it raised some eyebrows, shall we say? But I feel like
it makes sense.
it does. I think so. It's basically what you see here, except composite. I think it's really lovely.
And I also want to point out, I'm liking the fact that like something that you couldn't really see by talking about the nga topic marker is it's not just nga, but it also lengthens the vowel in front of it, and so nap e become, or sorry,
Of
I did
course,
a bit of a jep
yeah.
there. Nap e becomes nap inga, and so you get that lengthening. But same with the iguana, which I'm assuming without the topic marker would just be rapo with
Yeah.
no long vowel, and then with the topic marker you get rapona, which is like it's like a really cool thing
Yeah.
that you can't until you hear it or you see it in writing. It's hard to talk about that topic marker, which hey comes with a vowel lengthener, but like until you have a vowel in front of it, it's not
Yeah.
pronounced.
And that was really inspired by oh, why can't I? Oh, Bora. It's the indigenous, like in Bora, it has two long vowels, but obviously in English we just call it Bora. Um,
What?
it has a lot of these affixes that affect the preceding syllable. Um, so that was like one of the big inspirations. I couldn't afford to buy a bunch of grammars that I couldn't find for free. But I got a Bora grammar and the Aguaruna grammar. Um, so those were like what I turned to when I was like, I have no idea how any Amazonian language deals with X.
Right.
And I had few examples where I could be like, okay, like this is the sort of thing that happens because like I I mean I think I've often said I if you're not like going to like be specific about how you're referencing net languages, then I'm not the biggest fan of like a vibes approach.
Uh-huh.
Um, but specifically with Pánkáshku, I really wanted to like introduce some ideas. So for the conlangers who were interested, it would also kind of introduce them to some ideas. So, for example, we've got then the negative version. So, if you have napinga sasak vitus, then in the negative it would be napinga sasak vitoshu. So rather than reducing the vowel in, so the vito is the full form of big or the big one. And then with the copular suffix, then in the positive, the T reduces and becomes a glottal stop. But in the negative, the vowel is preserved. And you also preserve the tone. So
Whoa. Hang on a sec. This is really interesting. Can you scroll so that we can see both words on the screen at the same time? Is it possible? I'm not sure if it is. Okay, there we go. So is kind of what we're seeing is essentially the suffix for the top one. Is it tus?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
And
the copula third person
does it-
singular, I think you said, right?
And is it associated with a tone, or is it getting that tone from the final O of the root?
It's getting it because the it has an inherent high tone,
Okay.
I think. Yeah. So I made the distinction between the copula and I think it's the perfective, is that one is t and one is t.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure there was at least some minimal pairs with the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because this has an inherent tone, it means that there's like I'm not like entirely happy with how the tonal system works. The high tones are almost exclusively associated with stops, the inherent high tones. So basically, stops, they're either coded as high tone or low tone if they're syllable initial. And then if so, like with sasak, because there isn't a initial plosive, it gets assigned automatically to the penultimate syllable.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is why you get a lot of penultimate high tone.
Wow.
And
Okay.
why you get, for example, this long high tone in la pinga and la punga is because it's done moraically. So this is a high tone from the glottal stop with the obligatory high tone from the final two mora roll. So, and now if this stop was a low tone T, then the high tone would be forced onto the affix. So I can say for sure that's high.
Interesting.
So there's just a negative copular suffix.
Right.
Which I think I guess if you are familiar with languages with copular suffixes, I don't think it seems very exciting, but I guess some people wouldn't. It's a kind of verbalizer. If you the copula takes verbal marking, so it's a kind of verbalizing suffix that makes a verb that means to be, and then you have your incorporated noun.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So, okay, first of all, I don't think many people would know this about me, given my conlang output, but I absolutely love studying tone systems, specifically register tone systems. Anything where it's semi-predictable, right? And so this type of thing. I think I've sidetracked us a little bit, but I love it. I love figuring out how this works, and I love it when there's a series of words where it looks like there must be a pattern and you can't figure it out. And so then you have to like dig into it. And it's like one of the things that reminds me of, right? Hausa is a register tone language. Hausa also has a copula that also occurs sentence finally, that is essentially eclitic. And this copula always takes the opposite tone of the previous syllable, which seems just weird. It's like, why? It seems conlingy. It's like, why would that happen? You know? This was a really fascinating example where, in many ways, you kind of get the same thing, but there's a specific reason for it. That's fascinating. I love it. Wow. Anyway, sorry. So yeah, comparison. Not phonology.
So you then have cases where, as I said, the topic of comparison isn't always going to be the topic marked part of the sentence. I did realize coming back to this that I don't think I have any examples where the topic is just in the absolutive case. But in theory, for these simpler ones, like the iguana is not sad, you could, I think, say rapo na minyoshu, because it wouldn't be ambiguous.
Because there's nothing
I think
else.
I'd forgotten because of the incorporated, how I'd done the incorporation, whether it could take a subject or not. But I think it can, which is like, but I think that this way is clearest.
Yeah. And so I want to repeat what Jake just said, but without the actual phonology. So right now we have iguana in the topic is less sad. For just the iguana is not the least sad, right? And Jake is saying that you could leave off the topic marker potentially, because there's nothing else in the sentence. There's no other argument. And I think that makes sense. And it especially makes sense as we get to this next example. So go for that.
So, tinho minha, chiwati sasak tushtus. So, regarding the Amazon, eagle side is how I've glossed this, is the more fast, or in the Amazon, the eagle is the fastest. So I've called to the apodessive case, which means something is on the side of.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure. I have I don't know at what point something becomes a habit, because I think if I was doing anything else twice, I think it's just twice. I wouldn't call that a habit. It's just something you did 2 times in a row. But both Yatlao and Pánkáshku, I think because of the languages that inspired it, they both have a lot of cases. I think in the Yatlao case, didn't meant to have that pun. The Yatlao situation, I think that it makes more sense to think of them as grammatical particles because of how they work. But it's the sort of thing where you start describing something in one way and it can be quite hard to accept like a different way of analyzing it. In this case, I actually have the original document that I used when I was creating Pánkáshku.
Wow.
And it's in Word, which I no longer have institutional access to.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, same.
And so I knew when I was making Pánkáshku that I wanted like all of these cases, and I had all these ideas of where it could come from. And I've kept a lot of these in. Obviously, like getting
that's great. I like that.
Getting adpositions from body parts isn't especially unique, but one of my lecturers was quite proud of a paper that he wrote about the development of prefixes, specifically in Panoan languages, coming from body parts, because in South America as a whole, actually, there aren't that many languages with prefixes. And so the motivation about why this like closed class of prefixes emerged in Panoan languages was considered quite influential. I didn't make these prefixes. I think I'm very comfortable in left branching languages, and it's I think if you say something's exclusively suffixing, no one's gonna question you too hard.
Yep.
I don't know if that's true or not, but there's enough exclusively suffixing languages where I think you can get away with it if you just say that's what this is.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And so I just kind of made everything a suffix, and but you can see in here, like for example, the topic was originally going to alternate between the long vowel plus nyang and wang.
Okay.
And I was when I got to doing the relay, I was just like, there's no way that I'm gonna make someone try and work out what the root is based on the metric fitting and then change the the suffix based on that. I think that it made more sense to me when I could just do everything with Lexigy. And this isn't like a critique of Lexigy at all. It's just if you assume that you can always have someone work out what happened diachronically, and you take it to a step where it's not very obvious. Like when this happens in Aguaruna, it's quite clear because none of the consonants reduce, especially. You just lose the vowels. So in this case, it'd be equivalent of something like if we have imagine there's an A before it, it would be aumi, which then became um, um, or for example, you would lose the final A in wangi, which is the root for to talk, and you would just get wang as the topic marker. I just went with what I had used in the script because I had my lines that I didn't want to mess with too much. And I took the forms that I had used and went with that basically. A lot of it I can kind of do by memory now, and originally these were all going to be clitics. If we go back to the current form, the ergative and the dative, which originally was a benefactive, but then I didn't have a dative, and it seemed silly to call it a benefactive without a dative as well. Those are more irregular, so I provide them in my documentation separately. But these cases like T and Ro, because they don't affect the word that comes before them. They just kind of criticize on. And so they form a phonological word because they affect the two Mora rule.
Yeah.
But they just attach to the absolutive form of the word. And this whole, so in going back to the example sentence of in the Amazon, the eagle is the fastest. The idea of eagle side, I did take kind of from Japanese. They have this construction of nan no yo, which means like, I actually don't remember what yo means exactly, but it's something like you define a kind of positional argument about the topic of comparison, and then you say the adjective. So because I knew that I had this apodessive case that meant on the side, I thought, oh, I can take this thing that I didn't end up using and turn it into part of my comparative construction.
You know, I would imagine it would potentially also be useful in just a general description case, just to be like, if you wanted to make it clear that this is what you're talking about when you've already got something else marked as the topic. Like, could you just say without the sasak? Could you just say Chiwati as like the form of eagle in this construction where the Amazon is being marked as the topic?
I think so.
Okay. And it's totally fine
I
if I've
think like
misunderstood that and like the answer is no. It's just, like that's an interesting thing that could potentially be useful to like secondarily mark a hey, this is also important.
yeah, I think that with this is a kind of way of you're specifying the relationship that is um underspecified in the original construction, right?
Yeah.
So because the construction with an adverb plus adjective construction is it's not specific whether it's less sad or the least sad.
Right.
Whereas chiwati sasak tushtus, the eagle is the fastest. I think I'm trying to. I think it could be the eagle is fast. I think that it's quite hard because there's no context for these example sentences, right?
Yeah.
So I think that if you had as your topic like another like if you made it rapong and chiwati sasaktustus regarding the iguana, the eagle side is more fast, you would I think get the interpretation of the eagle is you would basically be it'd be like a kind of focus change, right? So I have examples of how to say the turtle is bigger than the iguana coming up.
Yeah.
So the standard way you would compare, you'd introduce your, and now I'm trying to remember how I defined these. So you have your topic and you have your standard of comparison and you have your quality. So up till now, there's only been the topic and the quality, and the standard hasn't been introduced. So when you add the standards of comparison,
This is fascinating. Go ahead.
I've been using an intensive case, so in front of or over, to introduce the fact that because so sasak comes from a word for kapok tree, which is one of the tallest trees in the Amazonian canopy.
Nice.
And so the idea is that the over quality being marked on the standard of comparison made sense as a way of marking this case rather than a case that just meant than or a like a post position or whatever. Because I'm not so happy that there aren't so many post positions. It's something that I'm gonna look into working on more, especially with the language we're currently doing on Let's Have a Booba. Quechua is kind of infamous for just having this huge number of cases. I did want to get up the walls map with it's just a number of cases, but going from the kind of pale colors and the yellows to reds and blacks, and you can see that in this kind of Andean area, you have some cases that don't match, like Amwesha, but you our Awapit and Ipinapere in the kind of northern Amazon that have more than 10 cases.
Yeah.
And while there are plenty of Amazonian languages in outside of the Peruvian area, many of the ones that are in Peru and Ecuador and Colombia do have quite extensive case marking. And so I thought it would be, it kind of aligned with what I enjoyed doing at the time, you know.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I think I don't think there's anything wrong with going with what you like doing, but I think it becomes a problem if you notice a pattern. And as I said, 2 times isn't necessarily a pattern, but I think it's something that I've become more conscious of as I've used Pánkáshku and Yatlao more. That it gets a bit unwieldy to have all of these cases that don't necessarily help. Like when you're getting into using, like having to search hard, like far and wide to find the Latin. Like I think I even invented the term possessive for behind or under because I couldn't find a description of a case that
I certainly have
that
never
makes
seen
it.
it unless, and I don't know, unless you look at the cases in a language, conlang you may have heard of called Gieler. It
Um,
does have a possessive and a postlative.
mhm.
uh,
um,
Good.
so yeah, and I think Napna was like so Sasak was like a reduplicated form of Staka, I think, was the original form, and Napna was also from a reduplicated of a riverbed, I think. Like the idea that it was
Oh,
lowest than the lower thing. Um, um, and yeah, so uh, that was kind of what I came up with. And when you announced that you wanted people to like share parts of their conlangs with like I think specifically because I knew Jesse had like written this chapter and had the nice picture, I was like, oh, like let me do this, and then maybe Jesse, you can do like the feedback sort of thing with it. So yeah.
Yeah, I love it. This is amazing, and I love seeing the examples. I love the choices that you've made here, um, and very cool to see my image used in a reference grammar.
yeah. So I want to mention a couple of things. First, I want to go over some of these examples again more quickly. But I also have a suggestion, not a like change of suggestion, but a motivation suggestion. But first, these two examples, right? This is just incredible, and I like that so this is both the turtle is bigger than the iguana and the turtle is less sad than the iguana. The comparative nouns that you get more and most, those are optional, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because essentially, if you hear them enough, and you have this word that's commonly associated with, superlative, and this other word that's associated with sublative, for lack of a better word. But it's also, each of them are also associated with a unique case. Then by the time you hear the construction enough, you can probably just drop the extra word. But I also love the construction idea because usually if you come up with, say, the superlative and the sublative examples here, regarding the turtle, the iguana, over the iguana, it is big, right? Regarding the turtle, under the iguana, it is sad. That makes sense on a very metaphorical level. But to actually get it with the comparative nouns in there, both this tall tree and the riverbed, so it's like over the tall tree, under the riverbed, that's a really, really good. Um, I love that. I think it's wonderful. I want to revisit the previous examples. This is, by the way, I'm assuming that these acute accents, they've been placed quite specifically. So you have
Yeah, your mum didn't
contours.
put them in for me.
What?
You said your mum didn't put them in for me. They weren't, like when she does Spanish.
There we go. So they're
Keep them like
contours. They're
confetti.
contours.
Yeah.
You know that my mother is a patron too. I know she doesn't always listen to the podcast, but yeah, I gotta tell her she got zinged, she got boomed. But so we have Tinyo Ming, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just regarding the Amazon. You have eagle side more most it is fast, right? So within the Amazon, the eagle is the fastest. This is why this made sense to me. In English, and I'm just using English here because we're speaking English as an example, but you can say something like, I gave the fish a flower, right? And because of the verb, everything is licensed. And so in that sentence in English exactly what each noun is doing. However, if you were to say, I talked to you the soccer match, that's not licensed in English. There's essentially an argument there that is hanging out and you cannot resolve it. Like if you were forced to, you could probably guess what it's regarding because we know the way the world works and how talking is, but specifically it's not grammatically licensed. It needs something to tell you how to resolve that argument.
Mhm.
And for me, it feels like you need something to resolve this argument here. Essentially, it licenses this argument because it's not as you're saying like the eagle is more than the Amazon or something like that.
Mhm.
And you're not necessarily, you don't have any other standard of comparison that the eagle is more than. All you have is fast, eagle, Amazon, right? And so for me, it feels like this kind of thing licenses it, especially with these other two constructions where you already have this noun of comparison, so sasak, more, most, which occurs ordinarily with a specific case, napna, which ordinarily occurs with a very specific case in these specific constructions where you're comparing these two things. In this new construction, right, you don't have anything. And so it just feels like it needs something, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Anyway, that was how my brain made sense of it, and it was also why I didn't question it when I saw that it was in some kind of a case. It just made sense. Anyway, so yeah, I was just throwing that out there about that. Also, just in general, and I think we've talked about this before. There are certain areas of grammar that personally I hate, like indefinite pronouns. I hate those. Right? Mm-hmm. I just hate having to come up with them. And or like those kind of relative clauses is like, like whatever you want is fine. Hate that. Hate it with a passion. I hate having to come up with it. Comparison is one of them. Comparison is one of the things that I hate. There are so many moving parts, and it's really hard to come up with something that is unique and that is satisfying, that covers all the bases, and that works very well within the context of the language. This is brilliant. It's complete. It makes sense within the context of the language. It makes sense outside of the context of the language. It has very strong justifications in terms of how everything arose historically. And it's also efficient, which is nice. It's not overwordy. An absolutely beautiful, masterful comparative construction, and wonderfully presented in this document. Absolutely, I love this.
Nice. Well, I think that is a wonderful note to wrap up this episode on, because I don't think I can say anything more than what David just said other than repeating the things and the praise, because this is really, really delightful, and so happy to have had this conversation. And thank you, Jake, for volunteering to share this and to go first in our special episodes. And yeah, I hope people are inspired by this. And please, if you do look at the video, I think we'll also, Jake, you had mentioned that we could upload a document, I think, with it. Please do look at how this is written up, because the examples are really nicely laid out, and like this is something where you can look at and understand how this feature works. And so if you're struggling with how to write examples and talk about them, I think this is a really great one to look at. And that's
Cool. Jake, any parting thoughts, or let us know where we can find you on social media, which is just so
like
important for us nowadays.
at the point that anyone's listening to,
I know.
I guess this will go up on YouTube, right? So,
Yeah, no, and when season 7 is done, it'll also be added to our podcast eventually. I need to update those. So yeah, there will indeed. If you've been listening to our podcast though, and you're not a patron and you don't follow LangTime Studio at this point, I think you know who Jake is. But
yeah, you can find me on Tuesdays now at Let's Have a Booba. You can find me chronically online on Discord. You can find me in Too Many Relays for my mental health. And you can find me, gallivanting around the UK.
there we go.
love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.